This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
Welcome to Moments of Clarity with Tiffany Werner, licensed mental health counselor in the state of Florida. Moments of Clarity's mission is to educate and end the stigma on mental health through the inspirational stories of our exceptional guests. You can join in the show by calling Tiffany toll-free at 866-826-1340 or on Facebook and Twitter at MOC with Tiffany. Now, here's Tiffany Werner.
Hi, thanks for listening. This is Moments of Clarity. My name's Tiffany Werner. I'm a licensed mental health counselor, and I'm your host. And with Memorial Day approaching, and to pay respect with those that are no longer with us for preserving our American way of life, I wanted to, and we have a very special guest, and it is Sergeant. He's a sergeant retired. That he's a very decorated Army veteran, and he was medically retired in 2009 for traumatic brain injury, migraines, and post-traumatic stress due to injuries sustained from 2 IEDs and on EFP during his 14-month deployment. He is the recipient of the Purple Heart, 2 Army Commendation Medals, and 2 Army Achievement Medals, Good Conduct Medal, National Defense Service Medal, Operation Iraqi Freedom Campaign Medal with a star, Global War and Terror Service Medal, and so much more. He's also taken his own service, his own company, landscape photography, and his list from just grown from friends and family to major Fortune 500 corporations. And it goes on and on and on. He is a motivational speaker. We are going to talk about PTSD and so many more things. And I want to welcome to Moments of Clarity, Eric Donoho, Sergeant Eric Donoho.
Hey, Tiffany, how you doing today?
How are you doing today? I hope I didn't butcher your bio too much. I figured we'd just get into it on the show.
Well, I appreciate you being able to roll with changes. For all of those who are listening, I'm supposed to be in the studio with Tiffany today.
Yeah.
But some changes didn't happen, so I'm doing it remotely, and Tiffany has been amazing through this process. So I wanted to say thank you to you for that.
Well, thank you. Because you got invited to the Today Show, and I guess that's a little bigger than me, so I got swiped to the side, and I got a call in. I don't blame you at all. I don't blame you. If it's going to be interviewed on the Today Show, which he was this morning, by the way, I guess I can accept that. But congratulations on that. So you're gonna have to fill us in on what you've talked about and what you've spoken about. And
so it was kind of a wild last couple of days dealing with some changes because I thought I'd be in Florida avoiding the nasty weather up here.
It's actually really pretty today.
Oh, see,
I just have to rub it in a little.
What we talked about was a little bit about my journey, and basically about veteran suicide, which we all know is at 20 veterans a day are taking their own lives, and so we talked a little bit about that and ideas on how to try to end that problem. And we talked a little bit about a nonprofit called Rock Warriors that I've partnered up with, Rock Wheels, and starting for vets, which is basically about finding new purpose and building and delivering wheelchairs to disabled children in developing countries.
How awesome is that? First of all, I want to welcome callers to call in. You're welcome to call in and join our live discussion. It's 866-826-1340. Once again, 866-826-1340. And welcome to support and share or join us, 866-826-1340. And is it okay if I call you Eric or Sergeant Donoho, or how do you?
No, call me Eric. I'm not a sergeant anymore. I'm out.
Retired, but okay. So, well, anyway, thank you so much for your service. Decorated with a Purple Heart, obviously, it wasn't easy. So that says a lot about your time in the service and while you were serving the country. So just that alone, plus as I was going, then I started realizing, man, this going on and on and on. And with Memorial Day coming, I don't think I told you this, Eric, that my father and my uncle fought in Vietnam and were highly decorated, like three, like you, and Purple Hearts and everything. First lieutenant front combat, and they passed away later on from Agent Orange. So,
wow, yeah, that's that is not a good thing. My father served in Vietnam, and we often talk about Agent Orange and what they used and all of that kind of stuff that's going on there. It's not good.
They would tell me that they remember putting a tarp over them when the planes flew over, and they would just spray them because Agent Orange would kill the weeds so that they could see the enemy coming. And the brain cancer my father had was kind of like a helmet. It was behind his brain cancer and his lymph nodes, behind his eyes, just around his neck and everything. He passed away in 2001, and then my uncle, they were best friends in the Marines, and that's how my dad met my mother. He married his best friend's sister. If that makes sense. But she was a Delta Airlines stewardess back when it was a stewardess, and she flew out when they were on deployment, I guess, to Spain. And my uncle brought his best friend, which was my dad, and story had it that they were so gaga over each other they missed the matador killing the bull. Whatever. Stories. And here I am.
Yeah, just I guess get a little insight. And Memorial Day always makes us think about our loved ones who served and the ones that are no longer with us.
Mm-hmm. And I usually like to clarify the difference between Veterans Day and Memorial Day, because I don't think, a lot of people think it's furniture sales or I don't know. But no, it's to remember those that have passed away serving our country. And but it's not always fireworks and hot dogs.
No, it's not. As a matter of fact, I work with a group called Iraq and Afghanistan Veterans of America. And since Memorial Day is upon us, one of the things that they do, if you go to iava.org, they ask you to take a pledge. And so on Memorial Day, I believe Memorial Day at 3 p.m., they're asking everybody to sign this pledge to take a moment of silence and think about our fallen brothers and sisters who never made it home from war, or the ones that we've lost here. The war never left them, and they just weren't able to make it. So, if you're out there, go to iava.org.
What is it? IAVA?
iava.org. And take the pledge to go silent on Memorial Day at 3 p.m.
Eastern Standard Time, or any time that's...
Eastern Standard Time.
It's 3 p.m. Across the board, or is it 3 p.m. for whatever time is 3 p.m. for you? Or like?
Well, I think the idea is that it's 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm actually... I'm looking up to make sure right now.
I just posted We could get back to that too, but regardless, that's beautiful, and I think that we should.
Eastern Standard Time. So
okay,
if you're out in California, it would be 12 p.m.
So how long do we stay silent for?
60 seconds.
Oh wow, that's way too much to ask. I'm just kidding. Well. No, it's just of course, like we just need to send out a reminder. For 1 minute to give a moment of silence.
In some ways, it is a lot to ask.
No, it's not.
I mean, when I say it's a lot to ask, I mean it from the standpoint that, from a society standpoint, we see Memorial Day as the beginning of summer, rather than, barbecues, Indianapolis 500. I could go down a list of events going on, but that's why I threw that in there, so that it isn't that hard for people to remember to take that pledge.
Right. Because it's so important. It is, especially for, I'm personally somebody that lost somebody to the war. It might have been not been during the war, but it was because of it, because of a war. And I lost a couple people, actually. So it's just like, I will do what I can to spread that word and remind people. But okay, so tell us a little bit about your journey and about what you were sharing into why you became a motivational speaker and what you've tell us a little bit about your journey and whatever feedback you're getting on.
Yeah, that's my bad.
Just mute your laptop and then tell us a little bit about your journey so I don't hear myself.
My bad. I'm still getting used to this remote side. So yeah, for those of you who, full disclosure, for those of you who watch the show regularly, the reason that I got introduced to you is that I served with Sean Martin, who's been on
our
the show
admin
a couple of times.
He's watching. Yeah. Sean, you can call in anytime. 866-826-1340.
And I got to know Sean. We started out in the same company, and truthfully, we as the progression went, he stayed in Charlie Company, and I ended up being transferred over into another platoon. So, but we got to know each other a long time ago. And Sean was incredibly young. He looks so old now when I see him on your show. But
he's young still.
Well, I always looked at
because he was 18 when you knew him, right?
Yeah, and they called me Grandpa because I joined when I was 26, so I had a little bit of time on him. But in short, my journey, it's one of those stories that when I tell it, people can identify to it because it's more about life and getting hit from life than it is just about, problems at war or dealing with problems at war. So in 2004, I enlisted in the Army, went through basic training, AIT, airborne school, and got assigned to Fort Richardson, Alaska with the 3rd Battalion, 509th Infantry. And on the flight from Atlanta, Georgia to Anchorage, I met my wife. We sat next to each other on the plane. And after an 8-hour flight, I was lucky enough that she wasn't sick of me, and she gave me her number. And literally about 9 months later, almost 9 months later, we were married. And that's over. I
thought you were going to say we had a baby. I was going to say, 8 hours on the plane, huh?
So we did get pregnant right after we got married. And when I deployed to go to Iraq, we were 7 months pregnant with our first son, David. And 24 hours after I left, I arrived at a place called Camp Buehring, Kuwait. And I had a Red Cross message waiting for me that we had lost our son David. So I flew back home, and basically, I didn't even stay a night in Kuwait. I just headed back to the airport, got on a plane, and flew back to Alaska just in time for the stillbirth. The following week, we buried David at Fort Richardson National Cemetery. And then shortly after that, I was back on a plane to Iraq.
Man.
The first night I was back in it's always tough when you have that situation. For me, the Army was really cool about it. And they were like, you can, I don't want it to sound like the Army was just with like telling me I couldn't stay home. They offered, but when you train with people,